Welcome back to the deep dive. So picture this, it's the day after Christmas in 1950s America.
Okay.
We're diving into Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar. To explore this pivotal chapter
Yeah.
where our main character, Esther Greenwood, is visiting her college boyfriend, Buddy Willard, who is
Mm-hmm.
recovering from tuberculosis at a sanatorium.
Wow.
Now, will this visit bring them closer, or is it a sign of things sort of falling apart?
It's interesting, isn't it, how Plath uses this backdrop of Christmas, like a time typically associated with joy and warmth,
Yeah.
to actually highlight Esther's deepening disillusionment.
Totally. It's like the festive cheer around her just makes Esther's inner turmoil even more apparent.
Right.
And that sense of unease really intensifies as she travels to the sanatorium.
Right.
The landscape kind of becomes increasingly bleak and starkly contrasting with the holiday spirit.
It's almost as if the scenery reflects her state of mind, right?
Yeah.
Plath uses descriptions like the bleaker shoulder of the countryside and those darkly green fir trees to really drive this point home.
Exactly. And then there's Buddy's father, Mr. Willard.
Oh, yeah.
He tries to connect with Esther during the drive, saying things like, "No daughter could be nicer than you."
Mm-hmm.
But it comes across as super awkward and a bit off-putting, don't you think?
I agree. His comment, though, seemingly well-intentioned, underscores the societal pressures and expectations that Esther is struggling with,
Right.
particularly as a young woman in the 1950s.
It definitely hints at the limited roles women were often expected to fulfill, like being a good daughter and finding a husband.
Exactly.
And then we have the sanatorium itself. It's described in shades of liver with this damp, oppressive atmosphere. Even the fountain is leaking into a basin of yellowed water.
Yeah.
It's pretty gloomy, to say the least.
Plath's use of imagery here is so powerful. The sanatorium becomes a physical manifestation of Esther's internal state,
Yeah.
a place that feels stagnant and hints at a kind of decay.
Makes you wonder if it represents more than just a physical illness, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then when Buddy finally appears, he's completely transformed. Instead of the gaunt, intense figure Esther remembers,
Right.
he's gained weight and seems strangely complacent in this confined environment.
It's like the sanatorium, rather than weakening him, has actually made him comfortable.
Exactly. He's settled into the routine, and you get this sense that he's almost lost his spark.
Oh, wow.
And then comes a bombshell. Buddy proposes to Esther.
And you can practically feel the tension rising. Here's Buddy expecting her to just fall into place in his life plan.
Right.
He assumes she's been patiently waiting for him, completely oblivious to her own desires and ambitions.
Right. And this is where we see a glimmer of the rebellion that will come to define Esther's character.
Yeah.
She firmly declares, "I'm never going to get married."
It's a powerful statement. This isn't just about rejecting Buddy, it's about rejecting the entire script that society has written for her.
It goes beyond a simple rejection of marriage. It's a declaration of independence.
Right.
Esther's saying she wants something different, something more than what's expected of her.
This is a major turning point in the chapter, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It marks the widening gap between Esther's inner world and the expectations she faces.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, Buddy is completely blind to it. He brushes off her declaration, thinking she'll change her mind.
Which only emphasizes how out of sync they are. They're on completely different wavelengths, with Buddy unable or unwilling to understand the depth of Esther's feelings.
Right.
To make things more complicated, there's this symbolic ski trip. Even though Buddy is a complete novice, he insists on teaching Esther.
That's such a great point. The ski trip isn't just a fun outing.
Right.
It's loaded with symbolism. It's
Yeah.
like a microcosm of their entire relationship.
It really does. And it brings us to this question. Is Buddy truly trying to help Esther? Or is he attempting to control her, to mold her into the kind of woman he wants her to be?
Right.
This is something you as the listener might want to consider as we continue our deep dive. It's interesting how Buddy's attempt to teach Esther to ski mirrors some of the broader societal dynamics at play. In the 1950s, women were often expected to be passive
Yeah.
and let men lead,
Mm-hmm.
especially in activities like sports.
Yes, and you can see how Esther chafes against that. She's hesitant and fearful, but Buddy dismisses her concerns, labeling her neurotic duress. It's almost like he can't comprehend why she wouldn't just blindly follow his instructions.
Right. And this ties back to the idea of control that we touched on earlier.
Exactly.
It seems like Buddy, even though he's the one recovering from an illness,
Yeah,
is still trying to exert control over Esther.
definitely. And that power dynamic becomes even more disturbing later on after Esther's accident, when Buddy learns that she'll be stuck in a cast for months. He seems strangely pleased.
It's a really chilling detail, isn't it? It suggests that he might actually prefer her incapacitated, unable to pursue her own interests
Right.
and challenge his authority.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder if on some level Esther senses this too. Perhaps her accident, though physically traumatic, offers a perverse kind of escape from Buddy's suffocating presence.
It's a really thought-provoking interpretation. But before we get too deep into the symbolism of the accident,
Okay.
let's rewind a bit and talk about another interesting detail from the chapter Buddy's poem.
Ah, yes. Florida Dawn. Remember, Esther stumbles upon a literary magazine in Buddy's room
Yeah.
and discovers this poem written by B.S. Willard.
And Buddy, trying to downplay his artistic side, pretends not to know who wrote it.
Oh, wow.
It's like he's ashamed of his creative impulses.
It's almost as if he sees creativity as incompatible with his chosen path of medicine.
Right.
He's bought into this idea that men should be practical and rational, not sensitive or imaginative.
And it's ironic, isn't it, considering that the poem is titled Florida Dawn? It evokes images of warmth, vibrancy, and new beginnings.
Right.
A stark contrast to the sterile, oppressive atmosphere of the sanatorium.
It's like Buddy is drawn to these things, to beauty and artistic expression, but feels compelled to suppress them. And, this internal conflict within Buddy actually mirrors Esther's own struggles.
Oh, interesting.
She, too, is battling societal expectations.
Right.
Trying to figure out how to be true to herself in a world that wants to fit her into a neat little box.
It's almost as if both Buddy and Esther are trapped by the roles that society has assigned to them. They're both trying to conform, but at what cost?
Precisely. And this brings us back to one of the central questions of the novel.
Yeah.
How do we reconcile our individual desires with the expectations of the world around us?
It's a question that I think resonates with all of us, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
We've all felt that pressure to conform, to follow a certain path, even if it doesn't feel quite right.
Absolutely. And what Plath does so brilliantly in The Bell Jar is to show the psychological toll that conformity can take. Esther's mental breakdown, which looms over this entire chapter, is a direct consequence of her struggle to break free from these constraints.
Speaking of breaking free, there's another telling moment earlier in the chapter that I think foreshadows Esther's rebellion.
Okay.
Do you remember when she talks about wanting to live in both the country and the city?
Yes. And how Buddy dismisses her desire as neurotic, as if it's somehow abnormal to want more than one thing.
Exactly. It highlights the limitations of Buddy's worldview, his inability to understand Esther's complexity. But for Esther, this desire represents something much deeper. It's a yearning for a life that encompasses all of her passions and interests.
Right.
A life that defies categorization.
And it speaks to her refusal to be confined by societal norms. She's rejecting this idea that she has to choose, that she has to sacrifice one part of herself in order to fit in.
And in a way, isn't that what her mental breakdown is all about? It's a final, desperate attempt to shatter the bell jar that's been placed over her, to escape the suffocating expectations that have been imposed upon her. It's almost like she's saying, if I can't have it all, then I'd rather have nothing at all. And that brings us back to the ski accident. It's been fascinating hearing your insights on its symbolic meaning for you as a listener. What do you make of this pivotal event? Was it purely an accident, or could it be seen as something more?
It's a question that has puzzled literary critics for decades. On the surface, it seems like a straightforward accident, a result of Esther's inexperience on the slopes. But if we dig a little deeper, we can see how it might represent something more profound, a manifestation of her inner turmoil.
Right. I mean, remember how she describes feeling a moment of pure exhilaration as she speeds down the slope?
Yes.
It's like she's briefly escaping the weight of her anxieties, experiencing a taste of true freedom.
Exactly. And then just as quickly, she loses control and crashes.
Right.
It's a poignant metaphor for her mental state, this constant battle between a desire for liberation and the crushing reality of her circumstances.
And let's not forget the recurring image of the white sun throughout the chapter. It's this cold, indifferent presence that seems to observe Esther's struggles without offering any comfort or guidance.
It's a powerful symbol of the universe's indifference to human suffering, isn't it?
Yeah.
Esther feels utterly alone in her pain, like no one understands what she's going through.
It's interesting how Plath uses imagery to convey such complex emotions. The white sun, the bleak landscape, the oppressive atmosphere of the sanatorium, they all contribute to this sense of isolation and despair.
They paint a vivid picture of the world as Esther experiences it.
Yeah.
A world that feels increasingly hostile and suffocating. And, this brings us to one of the most heartbreaking aspects of the bell jar, Esther's mental breakdown. is not just a personal tragedy.
Right.
It's a societal one.
You're right. It's a product of the restrictive expectations and limited opportunities that women faced in that era. She's been told who she should be, how she should behave, and what kind of future she should aspire to.
Right.
And it's driven her to the breaking point.
Exactly. And that's why The Bell Jar continues to resonate with readers today, even decades after it was first published. It's a story about the struggle for self-discovery and the courage to challenge societal norms,
Yeah.
themes that remain relevant in our own time.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought. Whether or not you believe Esther's ski accident was a deliberate act of rebellion, it undeniably marks a turning point in her journey. It's the catalyst that forces her to confront her own mental health and seek help.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most profound transformations arise from our darkest moments.
And even though the path ahead for Esther is uncertain, there's a glimmer of hope in her willingness to face her demons head-on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar. It's been a privilege to explore this complex and powerful novel with you.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, and keep exploring the depths of literature and ideas.